We're going to transition into our career chat guest of the day. She happens to be on the line with us, and it is none other than Ayanna Ferguson, who happens to be a child and family therapist and an educator. She's licensed in New York and Florida, and is also a senior therapist and founder of a private practice. To give a little more background into how we got here, can we start with maybe some of your schooling, and even prior to that, what some of your interests were that made you think further about going into working as a therapist?
One thing I want to make clear is that there's all different types of paths to get to where you're going. There's never, ever just one road. And sometimes when we tell our stories, people don't understand our process and understand our path or trajectory, or it doesn't make sense to them. And that's okay. The only person it has to make sense for is you, because it's your process, your path, and your journey. So I'll start there. I never saw myself as a therapist. When I was in middle school and high school, in my mind, I knew I wanted to go to college and continue my education beyond high school. But in my mind, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. But I majored in political science, and I recognized I had a strong opinion about things, a strong opinion about policies, about how policies affected people. My postgraduate path was a little bit more blurry. So really, I just needed a job after I got out of college. And the first job that I got was in foster care, okay? I worked in group homes, I worked in adoption, I worked in preventive care. And so I found myself using natural talking gifts, natural listening gifts, being able to identify their deeper needs, sometimes beyond what they were saying or what they were presenting. And I saw a lot of people going for their professional degrees, doctorates and masters in therapy. And I thought, maybe I could do this too. You know, maybe my future is not law. And I was preparing and studying for the LSAT. That's the test you need to get into law school. I took my LSAT, but I wasn't feeling as strongly about it. And so I decided to go to social work school. I went to Howard University, majored in social work practice, specifically direct practice. I did internships providing therapy and counseling with supervision. You have to do a lot of hours of supervised practice, 3,000 hours, in fact, after you graduate. And I continued doing it, hitting the pavement, working with families in clinics, working with families in community programs, providing therapy. And so that's the beginning of my therapy journey.
Wow, I'm learning so much. So give us some things that helped you identify that this was going to be the right path for you. Maybe it was an aha moment, maybe it was a particular story. We talked about how the policies from the foster care system and, you know, one of your early jobs, that was something that you didn't want to work with. And hopefully you've been able to kind of, you know, cater your experience now in your private practice to not have to deal with some of those pitfalls that you were dealing with in your early career. But what are some of the things, whether it be a listening personality trait or liking to hear people's stories or just knowing divinely that this is the way that you're going to help the world? Like, what are some things that are deep within you, or some, again, characteristics within your personality that led you to believe that this was going to be a path or something that you were going to feel that you were going to be able to work in for the long haul?
Well, part of it is that it grows me, right? So I am definitely not the same practitioner that I was when I started 15, 16 years ago now. I I guess, benchmark that I experienced, I learned something new about myself. And so that's how I knew that it was a sustaining career for me, because it was growing me. It wasn't something that I felt, like I know everything. Okay, I'm bored with this now, I'm done. No, because the world is changing. The intersections of issues that people are experiencing are somewhat consistent, but also somewhat evolving, because we live in a world that's evolving. And I'm changing within my practice. So things that I thought, perspectives that I had, philosophies that I held, my own biases, that show up, that I processed in my own therapeutic space, blossomed me as a practitioner. And I like who I am in the work, right? It matches my morals, it matches my values, it matches not only my professional identity, but my personal identity. I feel emboldened in different ways by the folks that I work with. I learn a lot from the people that I work with, right? I learn a lot from the children, the teens, the young adults, the elders that I work with, right? Because as I'm teaching, I'm learning a second time.